the consequences can include class 1 and 2 misdemeanors. They can sue you and they can win. There are some laws in place that may affect you whether you like it or not, and this is quite frankly going to be going against your will. Ideally, we would be inheriting positive assets from our parents, but in some cases, you could be inheriting debt. And some of those debts could be in the form of medical payments. You may be obligated to support your parents if they are unable to support themselves. This all falls under the filial responsibility laws. Hello, YouTube. My name is Broker Evan Pollard, licensed in life, health, accident, and sickness in both North Carolina and Arizona at the time of this video. And of course, with me making another video, there's more information that I wanted to share with you guys because simply there's a lot that we need to know. Your parents fed you, they bathed you, they made sure you had a roof over your head, they put that bandage over your boo-boo. And now it's time for you to return the favor. Maybe. But did you know that some states require you to financially take care of your parents? Now, it's true, and without the proper financial planning, you could fall into the filial responsibility law, which means you may have to foot the bill for all of your parents' unpaid medical bills. Talk about an inheritance. So, in this video, we are going to discuss what the filial family law is, what are the penalties and consequences of it, and how you can avoid it. What is the filial responsibility law? Filial responsibility laws are legal requirements that obligate adult children to support their parents or other relatives who are impoverished or unable to support themselves. These laws can be enforced by the government or private entities and can be at the state or national level. As of 2024, there are 30 states that have filial responsibility laws, and the states go as listed: Alaska, Arkansas, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Mississippi, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and West Virginia. The filial responsibility law can fall under a few things. Those things can include food, shelter, as well as medical care. Now, this law can apply to you if your parent has taken care of you up until the age of 16. Now, if that applies, then this law may also apply to you. You can be an exception if you were abandoned or any other outlying case. The filial responsibility law refers to an adult child's legal obligation to care for their parent, and that support is obligated if your parent is unable to do so for themselves. This law can require the adult child or children to provide their parent support for their basic needs such as food, housing, and medical bills. The medical care requirements can be quite controversial because we know that funding your parents' co-payments and deductibles is one thing, but absorbing $100,000 for a bill from a nursing home or other type of facility is another thing. That is an entirely different level of support. But unfortunately, depending on the state, the filial responsibility law may not differentiate between the two, quite so frankly. If you live in a state where your parent begins to accumulate health insurance bills that they cannot pay, then the healthcare provider may be within their rights to come after you. They can sue you and they can win. Most court cases where you see a healthcare provider suing a family is going to be at the result of a high medical medical bill, which is incurred when that parent is or has been in a long-term care facility, such as a nursing home or assisted living facility. And they're more likely going to take you to court if that bill is at a significant amount, at let's say $50,000 or more. And their stay doesn't even have to be that long. If we look at the average cost of a long-term care facility, it can add up pretty quickly. In the United States, as of 2024, the average cost for a nursing home is as follows. For a private room, it'll equate to approximately $10,025 per month, or the equivalent of $330 per day. A private room will run you about $120,304 per year. If your parent is able to get a semi-private room, a shared room, then the cost will go down to $8,929 per month, or equivalent to $294 per day. That is a savings of approximately $36 per day. Or for a semi-private room, you can look to pay about $107,146 per year. In 2023, approximately 1.3 million people, or about 2.3% of the population, live in nursing homes. And about 818,000 seniors live in assisted living facilities. Then for the rest, which is the majority, they still live within the community. And because we don't have multiple generations living within the home, and you don't necessarily see the younger generations, the X's and the millennials, and then we go down to the Gen Zs supporting their parents who are growing older, we will then see a rise, and I would say a dramatic rise, in the population of those who would need to live in a nursing home or assisted living facility. Now, with healthcare costs going up about 3.2% over the years, experts predict the enforcement of this law may be going into effect moving forward in the future, because we know the senior population is growing. And with the senior population growing, them coming out of the workforce, of course, they're living then on their retirement if they can retire, and likely are going to be racking up these medical bills. And the way these healthcare providers can recoup the costs of these unpaid dues is to have a family member who has the financial means to do so fulfill that. Each one of these states, they differ significantly. So it is also important to know when this law can be enforced. So let's go over those. You're most likely to be deemed legally liable for your parent's medical bills when your parent does not qualify for Medicaid, your parent is impoverished, your parent has medical bills and cannot pay for them, and you do have the ability to pay, or your parents fraudulently transferred assets to you. If you're lucky enough to qualify for Medicaid, which is the state-based insurance for those who are low income, then you may have some insurance for the skilled nursing care or the long-term care in a nursing facility. However, if you do not qualify for Medicaid, then that is where your financial planning needs to come into play. So this is a great opportunity for families to get together, to sit down with your parents and discuss the things that are really important for their financial future. Now, what happens if you choose not to abide by the filial responsibility laws if they are imposed onto you? Currently, 21 states allow lawsuits in order to recover those financial losses. And the parties who are able to bring up such a lawsuit vary by state to state. In some states, only the parents themselves are able to file the claim, while in other states, the county or the creditor has the ability to file the lawsuit. And in 12 states, a criminal penalty can be imposed. And that's going to be to you, the adult child who refuses to support their parent. And 3 states allow both criminal and civil penalties. So please take care of your parents if you can. And let me go over the general statute for North Carolina, where I am licensed at. And there's a filial law here. And here in North Carolina, it states Under the North Carolina General Statutes 14-32 6.1 clarifies that adult children with sufficient income after reasonably providing for his or her own immediate family will have consequences for refusing to support their parent or parents who are unable to reasonably provide support for themselves. And the consequences can include Class 1 and 2 misdemeanors. A Class 2 misdemeanor can result in up to 30 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. How can you avoid the filial responsibility law? First way that you can avoid the situation is to start the conversation with your parents. There are a few ways to do so. So it's best to get involved with your parents' financial planning and healthcare decisions right now. The medical bills can eventually fall under your responsibility if you guys fail to plan accordingly. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. It may be a little awkward introducing this subject or this conversation or even getting into the details about personal things, but it is very important that everyone is on the same page and understands exactly what their family members may need now or may need in the future. If you just so happen to be lucky enough to have wealthy parents who are able to support themselves, then kudos to you, kudos to them. I would at least hope that even within wealth that you are prudent with your future and have everything prepared and in line for anything that may arise in the future, like unexpected medical bills and costs. But it's also good to keep in mind, just in case you may need a nursing home or skilled nursing facility and you are too wealthy to qualify for Medicaid, then you definitely should be having this conversation to make sure that you have the things that you need in place to get the coverage you need. For example, long-term care insurance. It is a great way to help set yourself up beforehand, and it's best to get into it when you are at a younger age, like your late 40s or early 50s, so that as you grow older, you are more prepared for an instance as such. And women typically fall under needing the long-term care before men do. The next type of policy you would want to discuss with your parents is going to be life insurance. And not only that, but with a rider for long-term care. That is also another avenue that you may go that has more than just one type of benefit bundled in. Aside from a regular life insurance policy that you can add a long-term care benefit rider to, you also have permanent life insurance that can be cashed out or sold for a cash settlement. In turn, you can use those funds to assist you with paying for the long-term care needs that may arise in the future. Lastly, you have the discussion of home equity. If your parents own a home and have owned it for quite some time and have not tapped into their home's equity, you can either do so by pulling out a home equity loan or obtaining those funds once the house is sold. That can also be a method to raise funds for any long-term care that may be needed in the future. The second way to avoid the filial responsibility laws is to collaborate with other family members. And I would say if you have siblings, round everybody up, Zoom, in person, have dinner together, whatever it is, make sure that everyone is in on the conversation. Hopefully, everyone shares the same desires to get proactive about the situation. The idea is to collaborate on a plan that protects everyone's assets and ensures that your parent or parents have the access to care that they may need in the future. The third way is to help them qualify for Medicaid. Now, if your parents legitimately qualify for Medicaid, then this drastically diminishes your risk of incurring medical debt. However, there are legal ways to lower your parents' assets and income in order to qualify, should they need that long-term care. That strategy is called Medicaid spin down. And if you have questions about that, give me a call. But the bottom line is you as the adult child have a responsibility to care for your elders. If you, the parents, have things that you would like to pass down for your children to inherit and you want to protect those assets so that you do not have to relinquish them in order to pay for high bills that may come into the future, it's best to start the conversation today. If you are an adult child with aging parents, it is wise for you to to inquire about your parents' financial status, their estate planning, their financial needs, and their medical status so that you may plan accordingly for the future. If you need assistance or if you have questions about estate planning, please give me a call. I am not a financial advisor, but I am licensed in life, health, accident, and sickness. So I do have the ability to help with at least some of the policies like long-term care and life insurance. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me at either one of my phone numbers that you see listed on my Health Sherpa website or the Plan Enroll website, and I'll be happy to answer all that I can for you today. Thank you so much for joining me for my bit of news for today. I'll see you guys in the next one.